did you feel that? Because I mean, he's done it a few times, but this was
your.
Well, it was a crazy time.
Yeah,
you know, because the December before we had lost Carlos to COVID, and it threw everything into a tailspin. We didn't know if we were going to continue as a band because so much of our music kind of the way that first album kind of gelled, we kind of arranged the songs to have the baritone voice be like, once we hit the key change and then he took over the melody and then everything kind of revolved around that. And the baritone voice, the three of us don't have that kind of depth of sound. And so it was either we have to find someone who can not only have that depth of sound, but also have the range. Carlos had an enormous range. And he had been singing since he was 6 years old. And he always wanted to be a tenor. And then he hit puberty and his voice dropped. But he was always trying to sing my lines. I sang kind of the top lines and the highest voice. And he was always trying to get there. So he would always, well, let's put it up a tone. Let's put it up a tone.
It's really high.
It's high, but it's also full and round and warm. And there are not many voices who can do what he was doing. And, you know, I mentioned my solo opera album that I've been working on for 12 years. And on that album is a duet from the opera The Pearl Fishers, which Stephen is going to be on. And that was happening. We recorded that back
in 2020. February of 2020.
Just before COVID hit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So his voice was fresh in my mind as being, you know, an operatic quality that also had range. So he was literally the first person I thought of. And it was like, hey, we just, you know, have this situation going on. Would you like to come in and step in while Carlos is in the hospital? Because at the time we thought it was just, he was going to recover and he was just going to have an extended recovery. The doctors were saying it was going to take like 6 months for his vocal recovery from this. So it was, you know, do you want to come in? We'll continue on. And then, you know, the worst of the worst happened and we had to switch gears and everything moved at such a blinding pace. I vaguely remember this photo, but everything was just like, okay, what's happening today? What's happening tomorrow? How do we pick up the pieces? What are we going to do? Let's do a tribute concert. Okay, what's that going to look like? Where do we start it? Where do we book it? How do we do it? And it was, the whole thing was a blur for me.
Did singing together, coming together for those tribute performances play a big role in helping put the pieces back together for you guys emotionally?
Definitely. I mean, what David said, for, you know, at first, when Carlos passed away, we thought this was it. You know, there was not a feeling like, oh yeah, but we're going to carry on singing. You know, the reason that we carried on was mostly once because we had a whole year's tour booked. The people around the world, the audiences, were expecting Il Divo to carry on. They wanted the music to go on, and that we did find Stephen and he could fill in that gap. That is the 3 reasons why we actually carried on. But it was very, very difficult. And I look at this picture and I look at our faces and we look heavy.
Yeah.
You know this. No, I mean, David's always been heavier than me, but he's about that much taller as well.
Just people, it's like that much.
So you really were a gift, right?
Thank you.
You really were a gift to bring them back together and mend everything.
I think even further than singing, it was an emotional, there was something more that I had to carry than just the vocal part. You know, I mean, it's a delicate situation. It's a difficult situation for many people, and a lot of people take it out on me. You know, a lot of people take it out on us. And they had since the beginning. And I remember David's wife called me and she said, hey, just want to have a quick chat with you about what it's like on social media and things like that. And I was like, nah, whatever. And then she was like, gave me a rundown of what could possibly happen. And I was like, well, that sounds crazy. And she says, just don't let anyone bother you. And, you know, the minute it was announced, which I didn't even know the announcement was going to happen, that we were continuing on. I knew that it was going to happen, but the moment it happened, I didn't know when it would be, right? And so suddenly I got all these followers, and suddenly I have all these comments, all these views on YouTube and all these things. And you know, it was very polarizing. You know, there was a mix of positive and negative. And so I had to like then listen, like think of what she had told me a few days prior and think like, yeah, she was right.
One is always right. All right, another one.
No, I was just thinking one. Oh, wow.
Talking the
Wow.
There's a lot of joy in this photo that
Yeah.
caught our attention.
This is
Because they're taking the moment in.